In this video, I'm going to talk about how to get over your ex-girlfriend. Or anything else in the world like that instantly.
Good morning, everybody. Today I want to show you the Frankie and breakfast.
So you got a call or an email from a neuroscientist or a physicist and a mathematician. They want to scan my brain and see what's going on in my brain. Part of the collective study of this new wave of AI, neuroscience, times meditation, times phenomenology, times philosophy of the mind, times computer science, AI. So what the study wants to find out is whether or not an awakened mind or a meditative state like jhanas or samadhis or even just, my default state is a state of balance and symmetry. It's part of the Qualia Institute, I think. I'm not so sure. Anyway, we're going to get back into the symmetry and the balance thing later and how it relates to dependent origination and emptiness and art and design and fitness and evolutionary psychology and neuroscience later on. But all this ties back into what we're going to talk about now, which is how to eradicate suffering instantly. Because a suffering mind, a mind is defiled with negative emotion only when it's asymmetrical. Science and spirituality remix. That's a new thing, huh? Even though you can't really study subjectivity from the outside and vice versa. But again, the two are dependently arising. Science is good at creating gadgets in the dream world, but it doesn't tell you how to wake up from the dream world. It dreams up equations to justify and explain and prove things within the dream. But of course we need science, because after all, nirvana is samkhara. If you still think that there's a distinction between background and foreground, between what's outside the matrix and what's inside the matrix, you still live in duality. If I grew up never knowing that I had a brain, which a lot of people did back in the days, you could attain all those kind of insights I've been talking about and people have been talking about for thousands of years without even having the knowledge that you have a brain. If I never knew that I had a brain, I would think that this isn't a brain state at all. I mean, the brain could be an organ that responds to something in a larger context. Versus it's just a brain state that is coming from the inside out. Again, there's no difference now between inside and outside. So this discussion is only on the relative level of duality, but it's interesting. So one metaphor that I use is, now when I say metaphor, it literally feels like that. It's like watching a TV, flat TV screen, pre-awakening as a viewer, watcher, subject here, watching the object of TV. During awakening, it's sort of like getting closer and closer to the TV screen, and eventually you put on a VR goggle and you experience the world in sort of this 360 fashion, virtual reality goggle, simulation. After awakening, it's like you have the goggle off, and now you are in the world of the TV, which is no different from the world that you were watching the TV from before awakening. See, you come full circle. Totally different, utterly, absolutely different, yet the same. That's the paradox. But again, I take the middle way. Some people think it's all just brain states. Some people think, no. This is all just, you're just being perpetuated literally into a next reality. I take the middle way. The two are codependent arising. Daniel Ingram said that during his fire casino retreat, he could use his quote-unquote mind to draw a circle in the sky or in the room, whatever, and other people could see it. What the fuck, right? But he still acknowledges the fact that this whole spiritual pursuit has something to do with neurons and minds and stuff like that. So what is the nature of consciousness? No one fucking knows. I have experiences myself where it literally really confirms that consciousness is not inside the head. Is that I would never believe in a million years that the brain or the mind can do this. To become infinite? What? No fucking way. The fact that there's no seer here, there's no hearer here, there's no watcher here, there's no subject in here, and every sensation syncs up to itself. Again, balance, symmetry, right? What makes good designs? Physique, poetry, music, art, film, symmetry, aesthetic. The unified theory of everything, the elegance of symmetry in an equation. Anyway, let's go through the stages of eradicating suffering. Before you do any kind of spiritual practice, you are a solid form, a separate entity. All your experiences are solid. Now, when your entire field of experience, all the sensations, the body, emotions, sight, sound, thoughts, even consciousness and awareness are solidified, when you encounter a negative emotion or sensation or thought, it's like taking a knife and carving, making a really deep cut into a piece of brick or wooden floor or concrete floor. How long is it going to take for the sensation, for the dent, for the line to arise and pass away? Probably never. Very long time at least. This is why for most people they have deep, deep cuts as daggers on their hearts. Now, as they do more contemplative fitness practices, you start to dissolve the solidity of form into the next stage, next path, which is liquid, lava, water. Now, your entire field of experience, including your body, feels liquidy, like lava, morphing into each other, flowing into each other. But that's not the final step, because that still requires process and time. When you use a stick and draw a line in a pond or throw a rock in a pond, what happens? The ripples, the samkara, the negative emotion, or positive, arises and passes very quickly. But there's still process there. There's still room for impermanence, thus room for pain, because you haven't dissolved space and time. The next stage, next path, you become smoke. What happens when you draw a line in the midst of smoke? The moment it rises is the moment it dissolves. You go even beyond smoke into air, emptiness. That's like when you're floating in deep space. And your body is also the same color as the surroundings. So it's like there's no dimension, because when you're in deep space, you don't know which direction you're in, there's no distance. Not only is there no separation, there's no distance. See, that's the final stage. You dissolve even spaciousness of consciousness, infinite awareness. A lot of people get stuck in that stage, the non-duality stage. You gotta move beyond that into unilocality or non-locality. Now there's no room, because there's no time and space for anything to arise or pass into. Because when the foreground and the background, when every sensation is 0 on 0 on 0, nothing stains your being and non-being. If you're sitting there in the room and the air doesn't bother you, thoughts shouldn't bother you. When you're both and neither inside or outside the body and the world. See, again, this emptiness isn't an empty space. It's completely full. So it's not like you enter this emptiness and you just kind of like, oh, you're airhead, you're kind of like airy, ephemeral. There's that, but at the same time, it's like solid as a rock, stable as a diamond. So if you're completely embodied and grounded, but at the same time, like the clouds and everything else between. So you also feel very elastic and bouncy. So it's almost like all the stages from before combined into one. And then you have the reflexivity to shift back and forth or experience 2 states, 3 states, infinite states simultaneously. That's balance, that's symmetry. Even air is not the right metaphor, because in my field of experience, there's not even a single particle of gap of air pocket. This is beyond metaphors or analogy or imagination. In and of itself, it could be said to be non-existent, which gives rise to all of existence. See? Ta-da! Maybe it is the case that enlightenment is nothing more than a perfect symmetrical state of mind or no mind. See, it's kind of like those graphs. You see those graphs where one point connects to every other point on the circle. And then any other point connects to any other points in the circle. And each point is also connected to itself. That's the most important part. Each point, there's no particle, by the way. All those are just metaphors. Because when everything's connected, there's no points, like I said before. But from the relative standpoint, if you want to make it a visual metaphor, it's kind of like that. That's what it feels like. When I talk about my direct experience after awakening as being having no center, whereas every sensation is synthesized in one unified sense of zero that's just aware of itself instantly, directly, as itself. Simultaneously, spontaneously, that's symmetry, that's valence. Which every corner, every particle is equally awake. That's symmetry. That which is aware of sadness is the same as that which is aware of happiness, see? Awareness is not separated from perception, sensations, actions, phenomena, world, bodies, minds, but they're not the same, nor are they different, see? Don't make symmetry into the new ground. Because symmetry can only depend on arising through asymmetry. Now, if you look at any structure of music, dissonance is always followed by or preceded by harmony. That's what gives rise to the harmony, not the harmony itself. Da, 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 da. You can take that motive of contraction and expansion simultaneously and expand it to all kinds of designs by God or reality. And there's micro and macro, quantum and cosmic motifs like that, just like that, contraction and expansion. Dissonance, harmony, encapsulated within each other and one another like fractals and fractals and fractals everywhere.
So what you see here, what you've just seen, is a very interesting piece of music. It's a piece of music that has been designed to look exactly the same as the function that produces the music. It's basically the shape of the oscillators that make the music. And it's the rare intersection where sound and vision are exactly the same. It's basically, you can see that's a visual pattern, right? And the visual pattern is a two-dimensional projection of a sound. A three-dimensional projection if you take the time into regard. And so it's a sound that is exactly the same as what you can see.
I'm OG, y'all new to the game. New.
A good relationship is one of symmetry and harmony, see? The universe is inside you, but you're also inside the universe. And let's go back to the narrative of evolutionary psychology. Why do we find certain mates attractive? Because of facial aesthetics, right? And, you know, physical aesthetics. But all that has to do with symmetry, bodybuilding, fitness. Bicep is only quote-unquote aesthetics when it's codependent rising through the proportion and shapes and size of all the other muscle groups in the body and vice versa. And what happens when you mate with a partner who is totally asymmetrical, quote-unquote deformed? That means he has quote-unquote bad genes. Again, that's just from the story of evolutionary psychology. Just look at a cell. We all come from the same single cell organism, right? And that cell comes from the same quote-unquote Big Bang, but you know, the Big Bang is not happening 14 billion years ago. It's happening all the time, at least in my direct experience. Everything's and nothing's happening. Everything's happening, but nothing's happening. What's my quote-unquote final awakening that I keep talking about on May 25th, 2020? The Big Bang to absolute infinity. That's extension or expansion. And what's the big crunch that I've been talking about for the last couple of videos since my last retreat? The big crunch to absolute nothingness. The two are codependent rising and can be experienced simultaneously. Again, if you can experience both sides of those extremes, the quantum level of not even nothing and the cosmic level of quote-unquote God consciousness, then all the stages in between can be experienced simultaneously. Totality of being. Because we come from the same singular organism, that's why it manifests and creates differences and multiplicities. So oneness is dependent on rising through separateness. When you stay on the ground, whether that's oneness, whether that's, oh, I'm duality, nobody's here, there's no one here, no ego, no self. Again, it's neither fill in the blank, nor not fill in the blank. Neither self nor not self. Neither free will nor not free will. So again, nothing has an inherent existence apart from those relations, apart from the infinite webs of conditionings that are connected to infinite webs of conditionings on and on and on. And the links are also empty. The egoic state is an asymmetrical state. So is a state of total no self. Oneness, I'm God. Death can only be arising through, with, and as life. So if you just deny death, be like, oh, everything is deathless, all eternal. You're not gonna die. You're not a person. That's standing on the ground. There's no symmetry there. Now, if you're just standing on one side of the extreme, that's gonna be clinging for the other side. If you're unhappy right now, that's only dependent arising through some kind of blissful event, either in the past or something you're looking forward to in the future, see? But if the past, the present, the future are codependent arising simultaneously, then your sadness right now is seen through as empty because it's dependent arising through some events in the past or future, which is happening right now. And not happening at the same time. Everything is both and neither. It's not like just, oh, everything's happening by itself, there's no free will. No, it's more than that. It's a spontaneous, organic, dynamic, co-creative, co-participatory process.